Hello there. The sane people have had enough. Arrest those pro-Hamas terrorist student protesters who are now occupying US universities and declaring de facto caliphates. Stop them in their tracks, give them a criminal record and end their education as punishment for them trying to stop Jews being educated or lecturing. Oh, and for f***'s sake, take their soy lattes off them too. Be in no doubt, if these pro-Palestine marches continue for much longer, our UK universities will become as infested with pro-Hamas activist occupations as the US ones are right now. And in the US it looks like the students and lecturers, aided and abetted by outside Marxist and Iranian agitators no doubt, are trying to morph their universities into mini Gazas. But at least the US law enforcement system is up to scratch, robustly removing the trespassers and having zero tolerance to resisting arrest, with the protesters, both student and lecturer, bleating about their freedom of speech being ripped from them. These are the same types as those that vented their racist venom when they took away someone else's freedom of speech, as they went about the place ripping down the posters of the hostages that Hamas took so violently on October the 7th last year. No thought for such freedoms back then, was there? And these protesters showed their true hatred and venom when a group of them rounded on a Jewish girl at UCLA and hospitalised her. These are not nice people. But should this be allowed to come to the UK, I doubt our police forces will be up to the task. They are more likely to take the knee, or wait on the protesters hand and foot as they took over the university buildings. The police would be there to protect them from the far right. And that goes especially for Sadiq Khan's Metropolitan Police, led by Sir Mark Rowley, and we all know it. There'd be all sorts of reasons for the police to not do anything. Whereas in reality, these racist, and yes, I mean racists, think that their freedom of speech means they can break whatever laws they like and attack Jewish students and teachers, as well as Christian students. So the message needs to be clear. You will be arrested, you will lose your education, and you will lose your future, just like you tried to end the futures of Jewish students and lecturers. For these pro-Palestine protesters, it's like October the 7th never happened. And I wonder how many of them also suffer from Holocaust denial. Now, these wet woke nerks took it upon themselves to trespass and occupy buildings. But they then had the nerve to demand that the universities kept them fed and watered. Now, they weren't physically forced into those buildings, were they? No, they voluntarily went in and put up the barricades behind them. All in support of a terrorist-run organisation. Now, these protesting students and lecturers are supposed to be intelligent and educated, are they not? So I must assume that they've done their full background reading and research prior to putting up the barricades. They must therefore have read the Hamas 2017 declaration that talks about an endless armed struggle until Israel is destroyed and replaced with one single Islamic state from the River Jordan to the Mediterranean Sea. While it exists, Hamas will not allow a permanent two-state solution. Just a single Islamic state solution. They will not even allow a single secular state. And that means the protesting students and lecturers must understand the genocidal implications of the slogan, "From the river to the sea," that they so fervently support. They must do, because they deem themselves to be so clever. They must do, because they are carrying out that very practice on their very own campuses. Yes, they are trying to force Jewish students and lecturers out, so ethnically cleansing their universities. They have purposefully made those areas of the US and others unsafe areas for Jews, and they celebrate it. Pure anti-Semitism. But judging by the fact that some of those protesters are Jews themselves, I doubt any of them have actually read that declaration nor understand what it is they wish to achieve. With the help of those useful idiots, of course. At the end of the day, those protesters must be shown the door themselves to discourage others from supporting anti-Semitism and terrorism. Now this is well worth a watch. This is the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Gilad Erdan, summing up the position by pointing out that the UN itself seems intent on rewarding Hamas terrorism.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I wish to begin by thanking the United States, and particularly President Biden, for standing up for truth and morality in the face of hypocrisy and politics. Colleagues, I sat here mere hours ago describing why this resolution is destructive. I explained how the Palestinian Authority does not meet even the basic criteria, that they have no authority over their territory, and that the Palestinian Authority is a terror-supporting entity. How can you say seriously that the Palestinians are peace-loving? How? The Palestinians are paying terrorists, paying them to slaughter us. None of their leaders condemns terrorism, nor the October 7th massacre. They call Hamas their brothers. The Palestinian representative called Hamas his brothers after the massacre. And they don't even recognize Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state. You won't find even one Palestinian leader who would tell you that he recognizes Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state. Peace-loving indeed. Hamas wasn't mentioned here today, and it's not a coincidence, because the Palestinian representative here does not represent Hamas. He does not represent at least half of the Palestinian people. Yet, regardless of the Palestinians' failure to meet the necessary criteria for UN membership, most of you, sadly, decided to reward Palestinian terror with Palestinian state. It's very sad, because your vote will only embolden Palestinian rejectionism even more and make peace almost impossible. Please remember this the next time the Palestinians reject another peace plan or refuse to even come to the negotiating table. Colleagues, I have represented Israel at the UN for over 3 years. I have taken part in dozens of meetings in this council, and since the October 7th massacre, I have been here on a near weekly basis, sometimes daily basis. I repeat the same arguments in every debate. I plead, I convince, at least try to convince. I bring testimonies, present photos, and show video footage. But nevertheless, you refuse to even condemn. You refuse to listen. You refuse to act. You even refuse to check the facts. So today, I won't try to fix what is already broken. Speaking to this council is like speaking to a brick wall. I pray that the day will come and you will understand the magnitude of the mistake that you are making here. I pray that you will understand before it's too late. Thank you.
As far as I'm concerned, he's hit the nail on the head. All I can take away from this is that the UN is chock-a-block with anti-Semites. Their hatred of Jews is palpable. And as the ambassador has pointed out in the past, there was no debate about or votes on the horrors of October the 7th. And in the vote to give Palestine the status of a full United Nations member, it was only stopped by the US vetoing it. Only the US. The UK abstained. When Labour gets into power, I expect pressure from their preferred demographic to change that to a yes vote. We do indeed live in dark, satanic times.